Mumbai, or Bombay as it was then, has the second largest concentration of Art Deco buildings in the world, first being Miami.
At what point did we realize that Marine Drive is Art Deco? And so is are the buildings on Over Maidan.
The earliest musicians, the jazz musicians, they were all black Americans.
Correct.
France and India, and especially Mumbai, gave them the respect that they did not get even in the United States. Heritage evangelism is what is the need of the day.
Okay.
You have to make people aware. If there is awareness, people will stand up.
I wanted to be a minister in the Maharashtra cabinet, and the portfolio I wanted was aesthetics.
Is it too late yet? No, I don't think so.
It is too late. Welcome to a new episode of A Century of Stories India, presented by IDFC First Bank. I'm your host, Kunal Vijaykar, and this is a story about a city that quietly reinvented itself. Now, some cities are understood through history books. Others reveal themselves when you simply look up. Mumbai is one of them. Along its coastline, in its skylines and street corners, you can still see the moment when the city began to imagine itself differently. Not just as a colonial port, but as something modern, ambitious, and truly global. In the early decades of the 20th century, a new architectural language began to take shape in Bombay. It was bold, geometric, and forward-looking. But in this city, it didn't arrive unchanged. It adapted, absorbed, and became something distinctly its own. Art Deco became that language. What followed wasn't just a collection of buildings, but an entire visual identity, one that reflected a city in transition, negotiating between its past and its future. To help understand this, I'm joined by architect and sustainability practitioner Parineeta Katgaonkar, whose work spans architecture, conservation, urban development, and the changing identity of Indian cities. So let's unravel the story of the moment Bombay stopped imitating the world and started imagining itself. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here with you, Kunal. And I couldn't have introduced the subject any better, saying that is the moment it stopped aping the West.
Absolutely.
So,
And I know we're going to discuss this threadbare, but I just want to start with this one big question. Everybody talks about Art Deco, Art Deco. You go down Marine Drive on Mumbai, it's Art Deco. The buildings are Churchgate, Art Deco. Some in Hindu colony in Dadar, Shivaji Park. What exactly does the word Art Deco mean?
that's an interesting question.
Okay.
Because Art Deco, and we are talking about this style and how it came into being in the early decades of the 20th century, right? But it was not called Art Deco at that point in time.
Okay.
It was simply called the style modern.
The what modern?
Style modern.
Style modern.
Because it was a modern style.
Okay.
It was only in the 60s that a British scholar, Bevis Hillier, actually coined this word, Art Deco.
So the word Art Deco came only in the 1960s,
In the
whereas the
1960s.
design movement started in the 1920s.
It did. And Art Deco, he shortened it, and pardon my French, but it was the exposition of the arts décoratifs.
L'exposition.
So yeah,
Les
so which
arts. I'm bullshitting. My French is not all
so
that great.
loosely translated, it means the international exposition or exhibition of modern, decorative, and industrial arts. And
Okay.
this was held in Paris in 1925. So, yeah, the moment is 100 years old.
Okay, yeah, at this point of
At this
time,
point of time,
25
yes.
to 25, 100 years old. When you call it decorative art, does it mean that the architecture that preceded Art Deco in Mumbai or anywhere in the world was less decorative and this was more decorative?
No, it was not actually. So in France, where this exposition was held, decorative arts or an artist who was into decorative arts was basically anybody who was not a painter or a fine artist.
Okay, so an architect.
So a jewelry designer
Oh, yes.
was into decorative art. Somebody who designed furniture, it was a decorative art.
Chandeliers.
Chandeliers, glasswork,
Yeah.
all those. In fact, even today, France has a museum for decorative arts where furniture, jewelry, everything is displayed.
So besides being
So-
a sculptor or a painter, everything else, architecture included,
Was a decorative art.
would be a decorative art.
Decorative art. So he shortened it to Art Deco.
So decorative
And
art became
so-
Art Deco. We see Art Deco in its sort of full glory in large parts of Europe. Yes, in France, also in the United Kingdom, London predominantly, and we see it in Mumbai. Marine Drive, everybody talks about the skyline of Marine Drive, is widely recognized. Between you and me, I don't know how well the Art Deco has been maintained on Marine Drive. It's just thankfully the buildings are not tall and they are squat, rounded buildings, which is the sort of Art Deco style that you would generally describe it like that. But very few people are aware that that Marine Drive is one of the largest Art Deco districts in the world.
yes, in fact, Mumbai or Bombay, as it was then, has the second largest concentration of Art Deco buildings in the world. First being Miami.
Correct. And that's why when you go to Miami, especially on the waterfront,
The Ocean Drive.
Ocean Drive, you think you're in Mumbai,
See?
sort of. You feel that even in Nice, as in Cannes, as it's also you feel it gives you a little feeling of Mumbai, because of the drive and the water. And all
Water and that relation of that building with the water.
Correct, yes.
But interestingly, the Art Deco precinct, if I can loosely use that term when we're talking about Mumbai, that was probably one of the earliest examples of urban design guidelines and control.
Okay. So what you're saying is very important right now. Is that till such time as those new areas were built, which is Marine Drive, Oval Maidan buildings, there was no urban planning.
Not urban planning, urban design guidelines. When I say that, I mean, so if you can visualize, let's say, the map of a fort, the fort of Bombay, or the native town of Bombay, which was beyond the fort.
Correct.
And there were narrow lanes, and it was
Yes.
more like an organically grown
Absolutely,
settlement,
yeah.
right? And here, because this was a blank canvas, it was a clean slate, it was on reclaimed land, there was nothing before, I mean, that could sandbox you, or you had to emulate it.
Correct.
So you had this large tract of land which was reclaimed, and it was yours.
To do as you please. Yeah.
So you had plotted developments. You had, if you see the streets, apart from, of course, the Marine Drive, where these buildings are, there is almost like a gridiron pattern. You've properly recognizable sort of a imagery,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So there's system in it.
There's a system in it. So almost all the plots were of similar size. The heights of the buildings are more or less similar. These are the urban design guidelines and controls that
And there
seem
was
to
a
be.
language. There was a design language.
The beauty of Art Deco is that it allows you, which is not rigid, right? So it's a free flowing thing, much like jazz. And it allows you to design it in any shape or form that you want. But yet, when you stand up and look along Marine Drive, it forms a part of like a cohesive whole.
Correct. When you say that it is free flowing, it allows you, are we saying that the previous Gothic structures that we had were restrictive in the way they were built, or the rules and regulations of what you need to follow?
Yes, of course, yes. I mean, you were restricted by the material itself because it was stone and brick. And the sensibilities or the prevailing style, which you introduced in the opening of this episode, and said that we stopped imitating or following what was happening in the colonial era period, whatever. So when you say Gothic style or neo-Gothic, as it was when it came to us, you had to have pointed arches. Then you had gargoyles, and the material was, of course, brick with a stone facing.
Yes.
Stone
So it's
facade.
brick with stone facing.
Stone facing, because a building only in stone would make the walls too thick for it to go taller.
Correct.
It was a brick building with stone cladding, pointed arches, you had gargoyles, you had embellishments which were over the top, and it had that distinct colonial stamp.
Although there was an Indianness to it. wasn't
There
it?
was.
There were the arches.
There was, because you took from the Chaitya arches that were there. So there were influences, but I think overarchingly, the style was called Bombay Gothic, or rather it was named as Bombay Gothic. But other than that, no, it had that distinct stamp of being a very colonial.
So principally, what defines Art Deco as an architectural style, and in what way does it differ from the pre-existing Victorian Gothic buildings of Bombay?
Principally, the material of
The
construction.
material, largely. So this is
Principally, the
pure
material. It is RCC,
RCC, cement. Yeah.
is
Concrete.
reinforced cement concrete.
Sorry, reinforced cement
Yeah,
concrete.
because lime concrete was used even in the neo-Gothic buildings.
Okay.
So lime concrete has been used since Roman times, but this was Portland cement that we call. So it was cement concrete and reinforced. Actually, there's an interesting story about how RCC became all pervasive as a
Okay.
building material as well. So 1906 saw San Francisco being hit with a massive earthquake,
Correct.
and there was a lot of destruction. And at that point in time, the buildings in America were largely steel and glass. And then the lawmakers really started thinking, and the urban planners started thinking as to what to do, what material which will stand or withstand the seismic forces. And the answer was right there next door at the University of California, where a campanile, a tower, was built, designed by Julia Morgan, a female architect, and it stood. It stood the earthquake. It did not collapse. So then research started, and so that material could withstand. So that material suddenly was in vogue. Also, what happened was the First World War saw a large-scale destruction in Europe.
Yes.
So you needed a lot of building activity to happen, and fast.
Quickly.
Faster than the stone and the wooden buildings. RCC was the answer. So that sort of exploded, literally and figuratively. And yeah, so the material is one of the major things. And you could do a lot of things with RCC easily. You just had to have a firma or a mold.
Correct.
And then you could pour in and you could get any shape you wanted.
So you're saying that those rounded sort of designs of buildings in the Art Deco style would have
Absolutely.
been impossible to do in stone. I mean, impossible.
Difficult. And plus, you would see those smaller segments,
Correct, because
right?
they're
Straight
all
lines, because you
straight
can't, you know,
cut. Yeah, you can't cut stone
cast
round.
like that. So
Yeah, although they made domes and all out of them, no?
they did.
Yeah.
They did. But the domes are all made up of smaller stones.
Small stones, yeah, true. So there's no one person that you can credit with the popularization. What is the word for popularizing or inventing or creating the Art Deco movement? No, there's no one single person.
no.
It's just a movement that happened.
It's a movement. So it's
But there's no one architect who first decided, I want to do this slightly over-decorated things, where that design shows in my glass work, in my metal work, in my grill work, in my staircase, in my landings, in hanging and the furniture. So there's no.
no one person that you can say that, okay, he or she is the father or the mother of this movement. No. But this exposition sort of laid the foundation of, because to get Europe out of the melancholy of the First World War, and to say that there are still things which are beautiful, which are, which can be luxurious, which can be opulent. This exposition sort of showcased all of that. So it had all the exotic material. So it had rules that this had to be, whatever was exhibited there had to be very modern. It couldn't copy what was there before.
Well, that's a great rule.
So that's a great rule, right?
So when you design I know there should be no rules, there should be freedom when you're creating. But when you are designing, when they were designing Art Deco buildings, were there rules that surfaces should be rounded? Was there any sort of general rule to?
No, rounding of surface was not a rule.
Not a rule.
But it was just a possibility that the material. But what happened was, again, interestingly, this is how everything sort of comes together. That decade, or those decades, I would say, saw an increase in the affordability of the automobiles.
Yes.
And before that, there were bullock and horse-drawn carts, right? If you have to turn 90 degree with a bullock cart or a horse-drawn cart, it's easy. You can turn because there is, for want of a better word, there is an axle which sort of separates the carriage from the horse.
Yeah.
And then the horse turns and then the carriage turns. That's not the case with an automobile.
No.
It is one entity, one unit.
Yeah.
How does it turn? So it has to have a turning radius. So your streets and roads started getting that curvature. And your buildings, which were sitting right next to the streets, sort of started responding to that. And that was possible with RCC very easily.
With RCC. Simple
So,
to do. Just pour
simple
it
to
into a mold.
Just pour it into a mold, yeah.
We use money every day. But let's be honest, most of us still wish we understood it a little better. How do you budget smartly, borrow without stress, choose the right banking products, or plan for taxes and retirement without feeling overwhelmed? That's exactly where IDFC First Academy comes in. It's a free, simple, and practical learning platform that teaches you money skills in an easy to understand way. You can start from the basics, learn at your own pace, and gradually become more confident in handling everyday financial topics. You'll find short blogs, quick videos, fun quizzes, real life examples, and even certificates as you move forward. And the best part, you can learn in the language you're most comfortable with: English, Hindi, Kannada, Marathi, Tamil, or Telugu, or whatever. If you are ready to deepen your understanding of personal finance, visit www.idfcfirstacademy.com and start exploring today. So let's go back in time a little bit. 1930s Bombay. What was happening that made the city so? I can understand that Europe was decimated after World War II. San Francisco had an earthquake, and there was a revival over there of design. What happened in Mumbai? Because we were so far away from what is happening. World War One, World War Two didn't really touch us in any way besides that we sent soldiers from here. When we started to redevelop or to form colonies, and you're right, because a lot of this Art Deco stuff is in newly found reclaimed land. Marine Drive, brand new reclaimed. Oval Maidan strip of buildings, brand new. You go Dadar was an extension, new plots. Parsi colony, beautiful five gardens, whatever, Hindu colony, etc. How did the city become so receptive to a style which must have been alien to the city? Because we were used to seeing either sort of local architecture, like the chawls and the wooden buildings of old Girgaon, and these grand colonial edifices, So, is there something that happened to Mumbai and why they chose this architecture?
There's not one thing that happened, but it was, like I said, a culmination of a lot of things. So early 1900s, or let's say from 1920s onwards, is so there was a growing elite class, if I may say so. These people could afford to go outside of India,
Abroad.
get educated, see things from a very different perspective. Things that were happening the world over, even the Americas, even Europe for that matter, and come back. And then they had this blank canvas, right? So a lot of Indian architects, I mean, there's this misconception, right? Jo bhi kiya, Angrezon ne kiya. But a majority of the buildings, especially Art Deco buildings, either on the edge of the Oval Maidan or the Marine Drive, and of course the suburbs like Dadar and Chembur and Bandra and so on. A lot of the architects and the contractors were Indians. They were
Indian, yes,
Indians. They were
Indian.
Indian architects who went abroad, studied, came back. Some of them studied at the JJ School of Art and Architecture. And then, in fact, the dean of the JJ School of Architecture, they were themselves practicing architects. And they also picked up this style because, especially if you see the buildings on the Oval, it's like, the kids sort of thumbing their noses at the neo-Gothic,
Right across the road.
right?
Rajabhat Tower.
Saying, also, I think Art Deco leveled the playing field. Like you said, these were edifices, the neo-Gothic or even the neoclassical monuments. They were edifices. They did not touch the common man's lives. But here, the apartment blocks. So another interesting thing with these apartment blocks was that there was a huge paradigm shift. And that was that the toilets came from outside to inside the house.
True, yeah. Otherwise you had to, yeah.
So also, it lent a certain progressive side to the entire thing also, because you could stay next to a person in an apartment block, because typically you had 3 or 4 apartments on a floor. You could stay next to a person who could be of any nationality, any caste, if not class, but which was different from yours. And the educated elite or slightly higher middle class Indian, they were progressive and modern, and they wanted to embrace that. So the Art Deco and this apartment block sort of allowed them to do this and to embrace and let go of this colonial vestige of,
Correct.
and do something
Of
which was...
segregation and... No, I remember because I grew up at Chopati, okay, between Opera House and Chopati. And I had family members who were living in Girgaon. Now, the buildings in Girgaon were really, really old buildings with wooden staircases going up narrow. Of course, they opened up into big houses, but they were all built along passages, and the bathrooms were never inside. And the building where my grandfather lived was a 1931 built building, and we had attached bathrooms to ensuite, as they call them nowadays. We were young, so we never thought about it. The most irritating thing, because we had curved walls, and on that wall you couldn't do anything. You couldn't put a cupboard, you couldn't put a bed on that wall because the wall was fully curved like this with windows. Today, when one grows up, one appreciates the building the way it was built.
So it's interesting that you mentioned this curved wall because the furniture inside sort of responded to that.
It did. It did.
It did, right?
Yeah, you're right, because we had a cupboard which was also curved.
There you go.
Which had like a stomach. So it was curved like this and curved like this also.
It's a good hiding place, right?
Sorry?
Good hiding place.
Good hiding. Oh, yeah, I could fit inside the cupboard, which is more than I can say today. I can't. Okay, let's talk about the details of the Art Deco. Most of the cinema halls that exist, hopefully few that exist today, like Eros and Metro Cinema, which has been redone in a sort of Art Deco fashion, although not as good as what it used to be. Oh, I remember that Metro Cinemas, those chandeliers, and anyway. So, what about the motifs? You've got motifs which represent India, like the New India Assurance Building has. Isn't that the building which has all the kamgars and all the workers?
It has. But
It does, no?
in addition to the workers, I mean the industrial side of it,
yeah.
it has the farmers as well.
Yes, it has farmers on
Yeah,
one side,
yeah.
industrial workers on the other side, and it depicts India in this 2D profile looking drawings.
New age,
New age drawings.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the design, the motifs, how it translated into grills, into lights, into stairwells, into elevators, lifts.
If I am to sort of pick elements which differentiated Art Deco from what was done before. Again, Art Deco, like everything that Mumbai does, it takes a style, deconstructs it, makes it its own, and comes up with something else. So Bombay Deco, this is a term that many people use.
Oh, there is a thing like
yeah.
called Bombay Deco.
Yeah. So because Bombay made Art Deco its own.
Okay.
Right. And so if I am to sort of break down these elements, right? One very important thing which is different from Art Deco buildings elsewhere in the world is Mumbai Art Deco buildings have eyebrows.
Have what? Eyebrows?
They have eyebrows.
What are eyebrows?
The eyes are the windows to the soul.
Okay. Yeah.
The windows on the buildings.
Yes.
So they are the eyes. And atop those eyes, the windows. The chhajjas. You're absolutely right. And those chhajjas.
So you tell me internationally there are no chhajjas normally?
No chhajjas because the sun is not so harsh.
And the rain
neither
doesn't fall
is
like
rain.
in Bombay. Yeah.
So although there were some bands in some of the buildings on the Ocean Drive in Miami, you will see those horizontal bands, but they're not as pronounced or as celebrated.
Yeah.
So, for example, at the Oval Maidan, if you see, it's a beautiful structure, Shiv Shanti Bhuvan.
Yes.
It has got these beautiful eyebrows.
Yeah. Eyebrows.
On an entire facade, right? So, chhajjas, yes. Another element is this motif called the frozen fountain. Now, frozen fountain, again, the origin is back to that 1925 exposition. France,
Okay.
where the famous glassmaker René Lalique, he created this fountain in glass, the frozen fountain, which was of eternal
So
life.
it was just made out of glass. Okay.
And it was as if the water was frozen. That motif is oft repeated on stairwells, in grills,
which looks like this.
which looks like a fountain which is frozen. The other, which is very Indian again, is something called as a sunburst.
Okay.
So, it's basically rays of the sun, but need not necessarily be that the sun is a circular thing with rays coming out like that, but triangular rays, triangular sun, but you can make out that, yes, this does look like the rays of the sun. So
And you use them on grills and all now. In
grills,
those days.
so the metal grills as well as, concrete jallis. that would
okay. Concrete
yes.
jalis, yeah.
Also, some grills on windows in some of the buildings, like for example, I think it's in Rajab Mahal on the
Empress
oval
Court.
stretch,
No.
Rajab Mahal,
Rajab
which is
Mahal,
right
yeah.
next to the Shiv Shanti Bhavan. You actually have this on the window panes.
Yeah.
So the wooden sashes, when the window is closed, it's like a
Correct,
sunburst.
yeah.
So that is one pattern which is very unique. Other is, of course, the fonts.
Yes, the fonts, yeah.
Every building, the font is different, and yet together it makes sense. So
Yeah.
because it was not bound by any rigid rules saying that.
Also, in the old days, the lifts were all paneled, wood paneled, and even those lift wood panels have those sunbursts on them.
Yes.
Some of them.
Yes. Some of the older lifts would have the floor numbering, which was like a
Yeah.
which was like a needle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of it would have the rays of the sun.
Correct. Yeah.
So
yes.
either it would be a straight line or it would be a curved pattern with those sort of floors sticking out.
Nice.
So another is, of course, a very important thing. I mean, this pattern, we speak about it now, but Art Deco gave it to us, and it was the chevron pattern.
Oh, yeah.
The V that gets repeated.
Yeah.
That's very much an Art Deco,
Art Deco.
feature. Yeah.
So we have a wealth, and people who live in Mumbai should honestly go out and look at South Mumbai areas, so Churchgate and all our iconic cinemas, Regal, Eros, Liberty, which have all been, because Liberty, beautiful,
beautiful
it's just
cinema.
unbelievable. Even inside, the wood paneling and those frozen fountains, beautifully done, still
So
maintained.
the person who did the interiors of that one Mr. Vaman Moreshwar Namjoshi.
Oh,
He is
he's an Indian Maharashtrian man.
and he has also designed. So I think he designed close to like 34 theaters across the country.
My God.
And the famous Raj Mandir in Jaipur
Yes.
is his design.
Okay.
So like I said, a lot of Indian architects and interior designers were at the forefront.
Yeah. So we should stop calling it a foreign.
It is
a
not.
foreign architectural style. But this architectural style now is in danger, because you know what is happening in Mumbai. We're breaking down everything and building taller and taller glass structures, which is honestly so stupid, because it is such a hot place to build glass windows. You need permanent air conditioning. What sort of unique challenges does this pose for the conservation of these buildings? Especially, I mean, in the South Mumbai precinct, I think heritage laws might apply and you may not be able to do it. But a lot of small, singularly owned cottages, houses, you've seen what has happened to Shivaji Park. Shivaji Park only has now skyscrapers around it. In Bandra, you go down Bandra, all those wonderful little cottages, which are all Art Deco, just buildings coming up. So, what is the future of this thing?
I think world over, there will always be these pressures of rising land prices and real estate. So the fact that Mumbai had a lot of periods or drives of reclamation was to address the growing population, which still is true even today. But I think after the inclusion of these buildings, especially at the Oval or on the Marine Drive in the World Heritage Sites list in 2018, that has sort of created awareness. People know that something is here which is different. It also attracts a lot of tourists. So in those areas specifically, like you rightly said, maybe a lot can be done in terms of conserving, because one has to understand that conservation is not a one-time fix.
It's forever.
Yes. So
keep doing it.
it's not like you call you engage with a contractor and say ki ye kar do wo kar do. Because it is listed, because it's heritage, you need conservation experts to intervene.
Absolutely.
There will be some parts of the overall surgery, if I can call it, which will be expensive, and some parts which will not be that expensive. But I think all these, especially the public buildings or the commercial buildings, I think they're easier to conserve.
Yes, because nobody owns them.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no landlord trying to sell the building off.
And it makes commercial sense, financial sense for the building to be well maintained, for
Correct.
getting rentals and so on and so forth. But even in residential cooperative housing societies, let's say, I think there is an opportunity and there is scope for conserving these rather than just pulling these down and
There are a couple of old buildings in Colaba and all where the facades have been kept as it is, and they've built tall buildings behind it.
much like Europe, much like
Yeah.
Europe.
So
That
Buckley Court, for
some
example, at the corner of Cooperage. Then there's a Tarparwala pension on Cuff Parade, which is they've retained the old facades and then built whatever they had to
built,
build
yeah.
behind. At least it, the face of the road doesn't change so drastically.
So drastically. Also, I mean, there has to be some sort of citizens' awareness
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
because
True.
and that does help.
No,
That
it does
help.
help
Yeah.
because, like heritage societies, citizens groups within the locality area will, if they come up and say, like, I know that the Oval Committee was a very strong committee,
Exactly. Exactly.
and somebody has to approve the design of the grill also. Should not be some ugly thing that you've
Absolutely.
seen what they built on from Babulnath going up to Teen Batti, that beautiful acrylic and chrome barricade which just stops you from looking at the sea.
Absolutely.
100 years nobody fell down from there and died. Why have they suddenly decided that they need to build a barricade? I don't understand. I wanted to be a minister in the Maharashtra cabinet, and the portfolio I wanted was aesthetics.
Is it too late yet? No, I don't think
I
so.
think it's too late. I have tried talking to one or two important people, and they all laughed at me. So forget it. It's
You
never
want my
gonna-
support, you have my vote.
Yeah, I know. The minister for aesthetics, I want. And that period where I grew up, the 1960s to the 2000s, was aesthetically our lowest point. We took all our wonderful stuff and we destroyed it.
I think it has got to do a lot with some sense of pride and belonging in what you do.
Sense of pride to build chrome structures and glass.
Yeah,
ceilings.
you don't have, which is why you do that.
Oh, I guess. Okay.
If you think of your legacy and what you want to leave behind, then I don't think you will do.
It was just to move from here only. At what point did we realize that Marine Drive is Art Deco, and so is are the buildings on Oval Maidan? Because it's only recently that people have started thinking about conserving these buildings.
I mean, again,
Why did it take so much time?
oh, you're talking about time. So the push for heritage regulations sort of began in the 70s, early 70s. And it took us 20 years to formulate the heritage regulations in 1995. So I think that movement, for it to gather that momentum and get to a point where something can be done about it, it just takes that much time.
And also the Rent Act. Huh?
The Rent Control Act is a big deterrent for anybody. But like you said, the Oval Committee was very
strong.
Very strong.
Very strong.
And so if you see, before 2018, when it got inscribed as a World Heritage Site, before that, the alterations that were done are what you say. They're very beautiful. But post that now one has to think twice before they change the grill on the windows.
Yeah, I remember so many houses. Hey, let's put aluminum windows. Take these out and put aluminum sliding windows. And that's how we've destroyed everything.
So again, those buildings, unique what you asked me about, they have balconies.
Yes.
Because the climate being what it is in Mumbai, you need a lot of cross ventilation.
Correct. Absolutely.
So all those have balconies. Some have protruding balconies. Some have balconies which are like scooped out.
Yeah.
But all the buildings
Everybody's
have
got balconies,
balconies, right?
Yeah.
And now you start enclosing all the
Putting
balconies.
shutting
So
down balconies. Although these oval people don't need to shut their balconies down because those flats are so big that
They
you
don't
don't need more space. I can understand in older areas where the pokey little flats you want to take in your balcony, but oval people should not and don't need to do it. Before I sort of start wrapping up this conversation, I just want to talk about the culture that came along with the Art Deco movement. And one of the greatest examples of that is Veer Nariman Road, or what was called the Churchgate Strip, starting from Talk of the Town at this end, going all the way to Astoria Hotel, turning around Churchgate, and all the restaurants that were there, all the buildings Art Deco, the restaurant, the movement of jazz, every restaurant had a jazz band playing. So just talk about it.
that was called the Jazz Street, by the way.
Jazz Street.
Yeah. So I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it would have been a heady cocktail, right? So you have this modern sort of an apartment, and so you have arrived. You are trying to break away from the colonial rule and the restrictions that it brings with it. you are educated, you're the educated elite, and then you have this absolutely wonderful movement, which is the jazz movement, which comes in, and that's modern, and you are embracing it because it's progressive. The earliest musicians, the jazz musicians, they were all black Americans.
Correct.
And France and India, and especially Mumbai, gave them the respect that they did not get even in the United States. They used to come here and perform, and where they stayed was also very Art Deco. So, in that sense, these two movements sort of arrived in India together
At the same time.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And that would have been quite a heady cocktail because, on one hand, you see, there was this freedom struggle, that movement that was ongoing on a parallel track, wherein the senior leaders were demanding freedom. And here was the youth or the newly educated people who were saying that we are embracing everything that's modern and progressive. And, so, yeah, I mean, what you said, you have live music filtering out
I
from
mean,
the restaurants, and it
yeah,
would have been.
we used to go take restaurants like Gaylord and Bistro and all. Everyone had a dance floor. There was always a band playing there. You could dance to the music, and then suddenly dancing in a bar has been banned. What I don't know. I don't know whether we're going forward or we're going backward in life.
Yeah, well, I would say no comment to that, but
She's not. She just decided that we don't get controversial. Okay. Okay. Finally, we've got all this wealth of architecture, design, decorative arts. Not only the Art Deco buildings, but also our neo-Gothic stuff and all that. How are we going to preserve and conserve this for future generations? My generation is already going off now, and we've lamented, literally all our lives, looking at the destruction of everything that is dear to us and under the guise of progress. So how do you preserve this culture?
I think, and I'll quote Bharat here, heritage evangelism is what is the need of the day.
Okay.
You have to make people aware. If there is awareness, people will stand up. If there is no awareness, if people are not even aware that this is in your backyard, it's not going to.
And how do you make people aware?
Podcasts like this, there are many smaller organizations, groups of people who started taking people around walking around the city. You have heritage walks, you have lectures. You make it free and accessible to people so that, make it compulsory in schools.
Yes.
So, in fact, just this morning, Khaki Labs is running a summer camp for kids.
Okay.
So, I was taking a map making session for them. So, they were not going to get to a point where they're going to do a very to the scale proper map, but how they are visualizing their spatial environment. What is it that they see? And the thing is that I gave them an exercise. I said, you do one map of the area that you walk today and one map of wherever you're staying to wherever you go typically, step out, go to the market or school or whatever, right? And you would be surprised to what the kids drew. They said, we don't know how to draw very well, but they did some ornamental this thing for the flora fountain and everything. Their homes or that stretch were all just rectangles because all the buildings were there, similar
Correct.
looking, yeah.
Correct.
So, but they got the difference, right? And they're aware. So you're catching them young.
Yep.
So make it compulsory in
Absolutely.
schools.
This catching them young is a good thing. It's a good
Make it
idea.
compulsory in schools. Make them aware of the heritage. Because, see, what happens is that there's a lot of disposable income now. People travel abroad and they go abroad and they say, wow, this is so good. This is so old. This is so beautiful. You have, like you said, a wealth of these things in your own city. And you don't know about it. So I think awareness is the first step.
Awareness is key. My last question to you is this, eventually all the buildings that stand today reveal things about when they were built, about the time they were built, and what the aspirations were then, and what the aspirations could be in the future going ahead. Strangely, it is the progress that we made in the 30s and 40s in terms of reclamation and all, which gave sort of support to the art movement. And it is the same progress that destroys it. So what do you think is going to happen in the 20th century, 21st century, Bombay as a city?
I'm an optimistic person. So
Okay. I'm also optimistic. I just sound like that.
yeah, no. So I think this too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. I'm sure that we will be able to take care of our heritage. I'm hoping.
I'm hoping to. And on that note, I want to ask a couple of other questions, just slightly off the track. Do you see another movement coming? Do you see the signs of another art movement of any kind coming, which is worth recognizing and worth hoping will make a difference in our lives? Otherwise, because we're looking at a movement happening only once in 100 years. Otherwise,
There are smaller movements which keep happening.
design-wise,
Design-wise also. So, for example, we've wholeheartedly embraced the Swedish minimalism in IKEA,
correct.
and all of us like it. So, if you compare that with what we had earlier, it's a vastly different thing. Scandinavian school of
Scandinavian,
thought,
yeah.
minimalism. So that is coming. So yeah,
Do you see that in architecture as well, or only interiors?
no, both actually,
Okay.
both. I mean, we are doing away with a lot of unnecessary embellishments.
Frills and
We are the bells and whistles. Yes, we are doing away with a lot of those.
good. I mean, I'm hoping to live here and die here, so I'm hoping that the city, at least before I pass, and before our generation moves on, saves itself.
You and me
In a
both.
way, saves itself because there is such beauty existing in the city. We are growing broader and broader. I'm hoping that those people who design and build in the future can think of creating movements in design and things that will be remembered 100 years after we're all dead and gone.
Amen to that.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
This was a Century of Stories India brought to you by IDFC First Bank. See you again next time. And now a safe banking tip from IDFC First Bank. Be cautious of fake customer care calls. Fraudsters often pose as bank representatives and try to trick you into verifying sensitive information like OTPs, PINs, or card numbers. Remember, no bank will ever ask for these details ever. If anyone requests such information, disconnect immediately. Contact your bank through official channels only. To report fraud, call 1930 or visit www.cybercrime.gov.in. Stay aware and stay protected. If you enjoyed this story, there are so many more waiting for you. Go back, explore our earlier episodes. You might just find your next favorite.
IVM